Hey guys, Dan here with this week's TV news and reviews. A bunch of stuff to talk about today. And as I said last week, I missed a week in January from being sick, so I'm kind of playing catch up. But there is one show that came out over a month ago now that I sort of passed by because I don't usually do a lot of the documentary type series that are on, because there's a lot of them between cable and Netflix and other streaming services. There are a lot of them, but this one sort of took off. It was even lampooned on SNL a few weeks ago, and that is Cheer. So even though it's been out about a month, we're going to review Cheer. And then some of the other more recent shows. We've got a sitcom on Fox starring Jason Biggs, Awkwafina starring in her own show on Comedy Central. We've got a reality show on Bravo, and more kids programming. I always love watching all the kids shows and being well-rounded. So I've got another new Nickelodeon show and one on Amazon Prime as well, both adapted from children's books. So we'll talk about all of that, but first up, it is the news, and we'd like to talk first about the renewals and cancellations, get those out of the way quickly. So, a few renewals this week. The Good Doctor is set for Season 4 on ABC. I can't believe it's Season 4 already. I watched it when it first came on. I watched like maybe 2 episodes, couldn't really get into it, so, obviously, ABC does very well with it, though. It's one of their top scripted shows, so that is no surprise that gets a 4th season. Judge Jerry, the Jerry Springer courtroom show, which, of course, he's not a real judge, but he was a lawyer, so he at least has some legal expertise. I've never seen this show. It must air somewhere around here, because it's in 95% of the country, and I would be shocked if Harrisburg was, for some reason, one of the few places that didn't run it. So it must be on here somewhere, but I have not watched it. But it is doing very well, and it's the same company that runs the Kelly Clarkson show, so they both have gotten renewed for next year. And also Netflix's Sex Education, Season 2 just came on a couple of weeks ago, and now we've already got news that Season 3 will be upon us. In true Netflix fashion, my guess is that will probably be the last season, because unless you're like a Stranger Things or The Crown, you only get 3 seasons or less, so we'll see. But my guess is this Sex Education 3rd season will be the last. And then we have one cancellation for you, and it's for a show I've never heard of, but it will go into our reboot section as well. So we'll kind of have a nice segue here. But If Loving You Is Wrong is apparently the name of a show from Tyler Perry Productions, and it's on the OWN network, the Oprah Winfrey network. So that's been on apparently for 5 years and is getting canceled. But I know Tyler Perry has always a lot of irons in the fire. He's got a couple shows on BET Plus currently, and I don't know anything about this show. I guess it's a drama. Doesn't seem like a sitcom from the description I read of it. But let's segue that into our This Week in Reboots segment, and that's because they are going to reboot House of Pain, the Tyler Perry classic show on TBS, rather, not CBS. TBS ran House of Pain for 5 or 6 years. It ran from 2007 to 2012. I'm not sure how many seasons it got. I think that would be 6 seasons. But obviously that was a big hit for the network. They had a couple of Tyler Perry shows on TBS at the time. Meet the Browns, too. But BET, and I believe it's BET proper, not BET Plus, the streaming service. I believe BET proper is going to reboot House of Pain. I know we've all missed it in the 8 years it's been off the air, but that will be coming back to us. And I don't know, I like some of Tyler Perry's movies. I like the Medea character, but I could never get into the TV shows personally. I saw a couple episodes of House of Pain when it first aired. I'm not sure if I ever watched Meet the Browns, but I've seen a couple of his other projects on the TV side of things, and for the most part, I just can't get into them. I don't think he's a very good writer. He's an okay performer, but I feel like he's better as an actor in other people's stuff. He was great in Gone Girl, for example. But whatever. If you like House of Pain, it's about to come back. CSI is coming back as well for its 20th anniversary. It first aired in 2000 on CBS and was pretty much a huge hit right out of the gate and inspired all the spin-offs. So it is returning already, but in a limited series only. So I don't know what that means for CBS. They don't usually have limited series. Sometimes they'll still do a mini-series movie over, 2 nights or something, but a limited series on CBS, I'm not sure what that looks like. It's very early in the planning stages, but I would think that would mean something like 6 to 8 or maybe even 10 episodes. Which at this point is sort of just a shortened season. I mean, you look at a lot of the shows like on NBC, The Good Place, or Good Girls, or I don't know, I Feel Bad, or AP Bio. A lot of their sitcoms are only 13 episode runs every season. So it's hard to say what that's going to be, but that should be coming on in the fall then for 2020. Or maybe if they get it ready enough, I could see it being like a summer show as well. They've actually, CBS has done pretty well with the summer dramas in the last few years. They had Under the Dome that ran, I think, 3 seasons. The one with Halle Berry ran a couple of years. So I could see it, if they get it ready in time, doing that. There's been no casting decided though on it either, or at least none that we know about yet. So I don't know if any of the original cast will return. I don't know if some of the later cast will return, or if it's going to be all new, or maybe somebody from one of the spin-offs. I don't know. I don't think any CSIs are on anymore. I can't remember. Gary Sinise was in one of them, and I know Ted Danson was in the original for sort of the later part of its run. But I don't know if there is any more CSI shows currently airing on CBS. The final reboot is more of a movie to TV show remake, or I don't know what that would be called. But it's Turner and Hooch, and that's going to be on Disney Plus. Josh Peck is going to take over for the old Tom Hanks role, and that's a movie I've never actually seen. There's most of the Tom Hanks 80s films I have seen, but there's a few that I have missed along the way, and Turner and Hooch is one of them. So I don't know much about it, but I guess it's going to focus on, Josh Peck and his relationship with this dog, Hooch. And that's all I really know about that. So the big news for the week, though, is this Friends revival. It's, people have been talking about this for probably since about the week Friends went off the air. But obviously with its huge success on Netflix, it was the second most streamed show on Netflix in 2018. I assume number 1 is The Office, but the article I read didn't say. I mean, it could be, Stranger Things or something, but my guess is it's probably The Office. But so HBO Max has the exclusive rights to Friends now. It is gone from Netflix. It's gone from anywhere else it was. I think Netflix was its only home as well. But, other than the reruns you can see on TV 25 times a day still, it's gone, I guess, from all the streaming services until HBO Max gears up in a few months. Now, HBO does have the HBO Go streaming app, which is already up. I don't know if Friends is already on there or not, or if they have to wait for HBO Max to be up and running. I'm not sure. But here's what we know about it so far. It is not going to be a scripted episode. It's not going to be a, hey, we're friends 15, 18 years after the fact. When did it go off? I think 2003 maybe it went off. So, okay, there you go. Like 17 years after the fact. They're not going to do an episode. It's going to be unscripted. It may or may not be like just interviews with the cast about their time. And I do know there's going to be some behind-the-scenes stories that even the most hardcore fans haven't heard yet. So everyone is involved, the main 6 actors, and I think that's sort of what people were holding out for. I mean, I think there have been, conversations really for the last several years heavily about, getting everybody together. And they did sort of a minor revival or reunion, I should say, at the James Burrows, I don't know, congratulations night or whatever. It was like he had directed his 1,000th episode of television. I think it was an episode. Wait, it wasn't Superior Donuts. It was something on CBS. It was the one. I didn't watch it. Life in Pieces, I think, is what it was. I watched the show, the first episode. I didn't like it, but I think that's the episode that gave him his 1,000th episode to direct. But anyway, they brought back some of the cast from some of his bigger shows, Will and Grace, and I think Cheers was probably on there. But Friends was on there, and it was such a big deal. But Matthew Perry was not on there. He couldn't get out of whatever his previous commitment was on the stage in London. So, okay, he's out. So, why hasn't this Friends unscripted reunion happened yet? Who has been the holdout? Some people thought it was David Schwimmer. He was always one of the big holdouts for the money. But, excuse me, I have bad allergies this time of year, so don't mind me. But anyway, but I heard just today that it may have been Matthew Perry himself. So, either way, everybody is now on board, all six, and the fees that they're getting range wildly from about $2.5 million to, I've heard, up to $4 million per actor to get this revival going. So, a reunion. I keep saying revival or reboot. It's not that. It is a reunion. It's a one-off. But basically, my guess is it will premiere the same day that HBO Max goes live. I mean, it makes sense. I think, that's mainly what is driving other than HBO's original shows, it's going to have all the Sopranos, all the Sex and the City, all the, The Wire, Larry Sanders. I mean, it's going to have, from my understanding, most, if not all of the already established HBO library. But aside from that, Friends is going to be a huge thing for them, of course, and they know this. That's why they shelled out, $500 million to get the rights to it. And, my guess is this reunion will go live the same day that HBO Max goes up and running. So, I don't know. I'm still on the fence about paying for it. I mean, it's the most expensive one out there. It's like $16 a month. And most of the HBO shows I would watch, I already have on DVD. I already have The Sopranos. I have Sex and the City. Basically all the ones I mentioned. The Wire, 6 Feet Under. I have all of those. So, I mean, I have, most of the HBO shows I would want. Are there some that I don't have? Sure. But, I have the first, 7 or 8 Curb Your Enthusiasm seasons. So, I don't know. $16 a month when I'm already paying for most of the other things seems extreme to me. Friends I have on DVD, so I don't need that. I don't know. I mean, I've never, and my family has never done an HBO subscription, so it's nothing I've ever paid for other than buying the DVDs. So, I don't know. My guess is it's probably not something I'm going to pay for, at least not right away. But when they start making their original content, I suppose I probably will. I would like to get some sort of password exchange going with some people, because I'm the one paying for all of the things, and then, hooking other people up with the passwords sometimes. So, I would love to get some sort of exchange going, so I don't have to pay for everything myself. But there it is. So, all right, that's the news. We can get into the reviews now. And like I said at the top, there are 6 shows I want to talk about. And the first one is one that came out about a month ago, a little over actually. And it's on Netflix. It's a 6-part docu-series called Cheer. The reason I didn't really go for it is there's just a ton of documentary type stuff out there, and not that I only ever do scripted content, like we're going to have a reality show coming up. I've reviewed talk shows, I've reviewed game shows, but there's just so much content out there for a docu-series, be it streaming or, on a lot of the cable channels have a lot of documentary series going on. It's just not something that's usually on my radar. But this has sort of taken on a life of its own. Every so often there is a show that just sort of blows up in this organic way. And this show, Cheer, obviously speaking to a lot of people. I didn't even really hear about it until the Adam Driver sketch a couple weeks ago on SNL. And then I saw it like after I knew that it existed. I saw people posting about it on my Facebook, and oh, you've got to watch Cheer, and oh man, Cheer really gets it right, and whatever. So, I didn't realize it had been on for over a month now. So I figured let's give it a go here. So I watched the first episode. It's essentially about the nationally ranked school, which is Navarro College in Texas, the Bulldogs cheer team, and it's got about 40 people in it. And the coach is Monica Aldama, and they talk a lot to her. And basically, it's a series showcasing their national competition gear up. So we're meeting some of the people, we're meeting the coach, and we're sort of going from there. And I assume the fifth or sixth episode they're going to be at the competition. And do it that way. So this cheer team is basically the most recognized in the nation. They've won 14 championships in the junior college division, as well as 5 Grand Nationals for the highest score of all the teams in that competition. So they're no slouches. And one of the things that I got really hammered into me from the first episode is that this is just a 2-year college, so these guys don't have a full 4 years to ramp up like a lot of these other schools. So the coach, or I'm not sure if it was her that was talking at the time, but somebody was saying that that means these people have to work twice as hard to get the same results. So it's an interesting look at what cheerleading is. I mean, there's some history sprinkled in as well of, sort of the history of it going from, girls with pom-poms cheering on the sidelines at a football game to, being recognized as a sport, to being extremely competitive. Some of which I knew. I mean, I had friends in cheer when I was in college. I wasn't popular enough to know any of the cheerleaders in my high school, but I knew cheerleaders from college, and even after college, people I was friends with sometimes would be involved with cheer, either on the high school level or the college level. And one of my friends did go to Florida for, certainly wasn't nationals, but it was something, maybe the regionals for the whole East Coast or something. But it was a big deal. So I sort of understand that. And I thought that was interesting, looking at it from a historical perspective of, how did we get from there, like in the 40s, 50s, 60s, to here where it is, both an extracurricular and a massive competitive sport. So that stuff was interesting. It was interesting enough to meet some of the cheerleaders themselves, and the coach, and just some other people in different aspects of the school, because obviously, because this is a huge cheerleading school, they give out scholarships and whatever. So it was interesting to kind of see people come into Texas that really were not from there, or used to that sort of vibe. And there's one scene in the pilot where it's not really a pilot if it's a 6-episode miniseries. In the first episode is what I mean to say, where they're in like a Texas classroom for the first time, and the teacher's kind of like, okay, like let's hear some of the stereotypes about Texas, and she basically goes down the list and says, yep, that's right, yep, I'm a strong gun owner, I'm usually packing, da 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 da. Just went down the list, which to me was a little, I don't know, I would certainly feel out of place. Being a gay man, because one of the things she said, was, we believe, for the most part, down here in Texas, we all believe that, marriage is between a man and a woman. And you could, listen, the guys I knew that did cheer were all gay. I'm not saying that everyone that does cheer that's a male is gay, but there's certainly a lot that are. It's kind of like theater. A lot of the guys I did theater with, turned out to be gay. But if I was hearing this conversation, I would be like, oh, okay, what have I got myself into? But as a viewer, it's very interesting from a documentary perspective to kind of see, yeah, this is really how it is. So it's a culture shock kind of thing. It's interesting enough, like I say, to look at some of these people's life stories and their backgrounds. And obviously, as it gets further along, we will know these people more, and we will get to know them and their families and the coach a little bit more and all that stuff. I liked it. I didn't love it. I am not quite sure why people are getting so invested in this show. I think it's good. But I guess from the hype and everything, and I just figured this would be like blowing me away, and it didn't. It sort of seemed like, I mean, obviously we're going to get to know these cheerleaders and the coach much more than we would if it were just a 2-hour documentary film. Um, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like they could have told this story, and maybe it wouldn't have been as personal as a 6-episode miniseries. But I don't know. I mean, I remember a few years ago I saw a documentary about like ballerinas and sort of the work they go through, and it was certainly interesting, and I really, really enjoyed it. I forget the name of it right now. But yeah, I guess maybe I thought this could be more of that type of thing. But here, obviously, we're going to get to know these people more as the episodes go on. So I'm going to leave Cheer with a B. Again, I thought it was good, but it did not blow me away. I think the whole, like, let's get to know the kids, it's very standard. We've seen it 100 times before. Um, I thought the stuff with like the classroom in Texas and the history of how cheer became a competitive sport, to me, was a little more interesting than getting to know these specific kids. Um, but I don't know. Maybe I would feel differently if I saw all 6 episodes, but I'm not sure. So we'll leave that with a B, and all 6 are up right now on Netflix. Next is a Fox sitcom called Outmatched. Fox is pairing it with another multi-camera laugh track sitcom called Last Man Standing. Um, I believe Last Man Standing films in front of an audience. I really got the sense from watching the premiere of Outmatched that the laugh track was completely fabricated and there is no audience. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but to my ear, it just seems like a completely canned laugh track. And I think that they need it because I don't think a real audience would have been laughing. Let's just say that. So, before I get too far into my scathing review of this show, it is starring Jason Biggs and Maggie Lawson, who I wasn't super familiar with, but she was on Psych, which I didn't really watch. But she also was in the 3rd season of Lethal Weapon, which I did watch, but I didn't really remember her from that. But she works with a gal played by Tisha Campbell from Martin from back in the day. And then the kids, basically they have 4 kids, and 3 of the 4 are geniuses. We learn in the very first scene of the pilot that one of the kids that hadn't been tested yet is as well a genius, and then they have one more who's like an 8-year-old girl, and they're like, oh yeah, she's normal, and she's rattling off normal person things. The kid that is most recently diagnosed a genius is the little kid from the Mick, who that show was very funny. If you saw that, it only lasted 2 years. And the kid's grown a little bit because he was probably like 7 when the Mick started. He's playing 10 in this show. He might be 11. He might be 10 or 11. But yeah, he's a cute kid. Let me see if I can get his name here. Yeah, Jack Stanton is the actor's name. But yeah, he's a cute kid. But my God, this show is a turd. It was so not funny, so bad. Basically, in the pilot, they're like, "Oh my God, like 3 of our 4 kids are geniuses. You're smarter than us. How can we curb this or whatever?" So they try to have one normal day, and take the kids to the boardwalk. The show takes place in Atlantic City. Um, and, it doesn't really work out. The kids want to do their own thing and whatever. So, I don't know. I I gotta give Jason Biggs credit though, because I like Jason Biggs. I think he is a talented dude. Way back from the American Pie movies, but more recently, the first couple seasons of Orange is the New Black that he was on. He was real good. I just saw him last week on my reality show, The Masked Singer. He was the special guest on the judges panel because, of course, they're trying to promote this TV show on Fox. And I would say the only reason I'm not like totally failing this, I've yet to fail a show since September. And I don't know. I think it's kind of hard to fail a show based on one episode. So I think that's probably why, like, I give things the benefit of the doubt more often than not. But I also don't give A pluses out either, because again, I could give an A plus to an episode, but if the whole season got an A plus, that would mean every episode is an A plus, and that's fairly unrealistic. So I'm not gonna fail it. I got two like chuckles. I wouldn't even call them laughs. But the writing of this show is dreadful. The setups aren't that clever. We've seen, setups like this before, the characters before. I can see why they're pairing it with Last Man Standing, because I think that is also a very dumb show. I haven't seen any of the Fox seasons. I guess it's been on Fox now for 2 years, but I watched about half of the first season when it first aired on ABC, and it was like okay, but it was one of those things where there was too much else to watch that was a lot better, so I kind of dropped Last Man Standing, which usually will happen. Like usually halfway through a season, I'll kind of say like I'll take inventory and be like, okay, is this worth continuing to watch, or can I drop it? And with very few regrets. There's a couple of shows here or there I've regretted dropping, and then I'll get back into, like, at the start of the next season, I'll kind of catch up on the last season or whatever. Madam Secretary was one of those. I gave up on that in the second season, and I was kind of like, oh, I did like that show. So I started watching it again once the previous season would go up on Netflix, so I could catch up that way. But anyway, point being, this show stinks. It is, boy, it's rough. I mean, I don't know, and I don't care if you have a live audience or even really a laugh track on your show. I've talked about this many times. First of all, I do Connor's episode reviews every week, and that's in front of an audience. But, same with the Will and Grace reboot and One Day at a Time, and, Mom, I enjoy. There's a handful of shows that I watch that have a laugh track or a live audience. It doesn't necessarily bother me, but the material has to be good, and this doesn't have any good material. So I'm not going to fail it. My couple of chuckles put me over the line on that, and I do like Jason Biggs. I think Jason Biggs, is fun to watch. It's not going to bring me back to this show ever again, but he's enjoyable if nothing else. But even the kid from the Mick, who was so good on that show, he's I mean, they're not giving him any good lines. I get he's a genius, but like they're trying to make him talk like he's like he's so well read, and I know all the he's mentioning like these composers, and it's like, all right, dude, you just learned you were a genius today. It's not like you went and read a bunch of books. Like, it just didn't make any sense. So the show is bad. I give Outmatched a D. Up next is Awkwafina is Nora from Queens on Comedy Central. I'm not sure why that's the full name of the show rather than just Nora from Queens, but obviously Comedy Central really wanted people to know that Awkwafina, who is a very rising star the last 2 or 3 years, is in this. For my money, she was one of the huge snubs at this year's Oscars that she didn't get nominated for Best Actress, or that the movie The Farewell that she is in didn't get anything. It got a couple of Golden Globes nominations and wins, and much deserved because I love that movie. The jury is still out for me on how I feel about Awkwafina, though, because sometimes I've seen her be really enjoyable and funny, and other times she's gotten on my nerves. Even in the same thing, like in Crazy Rich Asians, her character was really annoying, but I did laugh a few times. So I don't know, and the jury's still out even after watching this show. So the basic premise is it's sort of a very very loose, autobiographical type of thing. And it's already been renewed, by the way, for season 2, even before the first episode came on. So Comedy Central is certainly behind this. But basically, she's in Queen. She's playing, a character named Nora Lynn, and kind of a fictionalized version of herself and her story. And she's basically a 20-something woman in Queens who is currently living with her parents, trying to make ends meet. And they say, like, look, you gotta hit the road, like, move out on your own. So she tries this Uber type thing where she's trying to make money on that, but she fails. She gets too many bad reviews. So then she moves in with one of her buddies, and turns out this person is doing, like, live sex shows on the internet. And so she's like, I gotta get out of here. So she ends up moving, back in with her parents at the end of the episode. Her parents, I would say, are the best part of the show. It's B.D. Wong playing her dad. And it's not her dad and her mom, actually. B.D. Wong is the dad, but her grandmother is the other person raising her, and that's Lori Tan Chin, who, if you'll remember from from Roseanne, way back in like season 2 or maybe season 3 when she worked at the hairdresser, she was the Asian gal that Roseanne worked with there. So that's where I know her from, but she also showed up in later seasons of Orange is the New Black. She was there for maybe 2 seasons. But anyway, so she, to me, steals the show. She's so funny, and her character's very likable, too. Now, there is something to be said for, just putting dirty words in old women's mouths, and, therefore that's the punchline. Like, oh, haha, Granny said, something explicit. So I think the writing needs to be sharper, but she is very funny. And Awkwafina herself, again, little hit or miss here, like I've seen her in most things, but enjoyable enough that I think with some tighter writing, I really think we might have something pretty special. It's not quite as on the nose as a lot of the autobiographical shows I've reviewed lately. Shrill, for example, with A.D. Bryant, Rami, featuring Rami Youssef. There's been a whole sort of host of them the last couple of years. But, this is not quite of that caliber yet. I think because it's on Comedy Central, maybe, I don't know. I used to really like shows on Comedy Central, but I don't know. I don't know if it's because I've aged out of it, because I'm in my 40s now. I don't know if that's part of it, or... But I don't think it is, because I still like South Park. I mean, I still enjoy that show when I see it. I don't watch it often anymore, but whenever I do, it still makes me laugh. And, obviously I get jokes from a lot of these kids shows that I review. So I don't think it's not the immature humor necessarily. I just think Comedy Central sort of has I don't know, a lot of their shows are dumbed down a little bit. And especially now that I've been doing this show and I'm watching, like, everything that Showtime puts out and everything that Amazon puts out, I guess I'm seeing a higher quality show. And I would like to see that in more Comedy Central shows, I guess. So I think this has potential. Awkwafina is, again, a little bit of a mixed bag. She definitely made me laugh in some scenes. But her character is a mess, and I am not positive how much I want to get behind her yet. But I think her grandmother is the real scene stealer here, so I want to see more episodes with their dynamic. They're funny together. So I leave Awkwafina as Nora from Queens with a B-. Up next is Spy Games. I don't do a lot of reality on this channel. It's kind of like, not doing the documentary stuff. There's so many different, like, reality things going on. But harkening back to my very first TV news and reviews episode where I reviewed the Brady Bunch renovation show, every so often there will be one that I kind of pluck out. And obviously, The Masked Singer I love, so I want to watch more of that. And bring you guys the reviews, or not even the reviews, but my guesses for who's singing. That's certainly reality. And up until about a year ago, I still watched America's Got Talent. Once Howard Stern left, I kind of soured on it a little bit because I thought he was a great judge. But I like Simon Cowell, so I gave it another season. Um, but like I don't watch American Idol anymore. I haven't for about a decade. I haven't watched Survivor in like 15 years. So reality to me is not a main focus. But this intrigued me a little bit because I like mysteries and I like being a spy. Like not that I'm a spy, but I mean I like the concept of it. I've been to the Spy Museum in D.C., which actually I think I've been there twice, which is a lot of fun. So when I heard that Bravo was doing a show called Spy Games as a reality competition, I thought, okay, this might be something fun. I would say with my reality shows, it usually is a competition type show that I watch. Like I used to watch Project Runway and all the singing shows I just mentioned and the first season of The Voice. But like I don't watch a lot of the I don't know, the shows with like different jobs, like the ice truckers, and I don't watch that kind of stuff. But this seemed intriguing to me, so I gave it a shot. Watched the first episode. The prize is $100,000, so obviously a far cry from what they give away on Survivor. But it's Bravo, so these episodes are going to get about a 500,000 viewers, as opposed to whatever 10 million viewers for Survivor. Speaking of, by the way, to go back to Awkwafina for a second. Speaking of 500,000 viewers, that's how many viewers the first episode of Awkwafina is Nora from Queens got, and it was the most watched new series premiere on Comedy Central in like 4 years. So obviously it's a big hit, but that kind of tells you where the numbers are these days. That qualifies as like a big hit for cable is like 500,000 viewers. But anyway, so there are 10 people all competing. They're going to eliminate, I guess, one every week, and the judges are all like, ex-CIA, ex-Secret Service, FBI. So these people have good pedigrees, and we have 10 different competitors, and it's very it definitely leans, more reality than I was hoping, I guess, because like they're living together, and I was hoping, I guess, it would just be like a lot of missions that they were going on, but it turns out it's more like Survivor / Apprentice than I would like it to be. But in the first episode, they split them off into two teams of 5, and each team had to do like a campsite thing. They made them dress all really glitzy. The women are in high heels, the men are in like tuxedos. So they had them set up a campsite and everything, get dirty, to see how they adapt basically to different things on the fly, and then they flew them to this really swanky party where they're supposed to get a phone number, secretly from another patron at the party, and then get out of there. And some of them succeeded, some of them did not. And then the next day, the person that got voted out, he gets to leave his dossier with somebody else. And so he picked somebody, and it promptly got taken. And so there's like a lot of backstabbing already, and some alliances forming, and da 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 da. This is what got me to the dance originally at Survivor. Like I was really into the alliances, and I was into the backstabbing and whispering, and Survivor, of course, one of their highlights is the big tribal council. Here on this show, it's more like The Apprentice, where Donald Trump sent someone packing, along with his goony family. Here, the 3 judges sort of by themselves decide, okay, you're getting sent home. So, that is the great thing about Survivor, is that the tribe has spoken, not the judges or the producers or whatever. So, but I wish it was a little less reality-based. But I enjoyed the first episode. I mean, I'm not sure if this is something I will watch to the end, but I might. I mean, it's been a while since I had a good, reality competition show to follow, and I could see this being one of them. So I leave Spy Games with a B minus. And we close with two new kid shows. Boy, we did some kid shows last week, and now I have two more for you. I don't know. I think a good kid show can be a lot of fun. And I think there's also a lot of crappy kid shows. So I like sort of separating the wheat from the chaff, as they say. So these are both based on classic books, and we'll do the most classic first, and that is The Adventures of Paddington. Of course, this is based on the old books Paddington, but more to the point, Ben Whishaw, who voices Paddington in the two movies that have been released the last few years, he returns as the voice of Paddington in the show. So right away, I'm like, okay, this is cool. Ben Whishaw, by the way, if you don't know him by name, you may know him from James Bond because he like, I always forget the characters' names. It's not Q. That's what's her face? Is it M? Is he M in the? I don't know. Anyway, now that's his theatrical stuff. Yes, he's done a lot of stuff on stage. Q. Okay, yeah, so he plays Q as recently as Spectre. Doesn't look like... Oh, he is. Yep, he's going to be back in No Time to Die as well as Q. So, anyway, if you don't know him by name or by voice, that's who he is. He's Q in the most recent Bond films. But anyway, so he returns here as Paddington Bear, like it is usually on Nickelodeon, at least for their Nick Jr. stuff, which is what this is. It's airing, I guess, Monday through Friday, but it only aired for a week, and then I don't know if they're just rerunning that same week or what. But the week of January 20th, it was on every afternoon on Nick Jr. or morning or whatever. I don't know. But like most of the Nickelodeon shows during the day, it's two 15-minute segments in each episode, and that's just what we had last week when I reviewed It's Pony on Nickelodeon. This is a cute show. None of the other people from the movie are here. Hugh Bonneville and Sally Hawkins, they're not here. But the voice cast, does a good job. And it's very basic, in story, just like Paddington Bear is, like in one of the two episodes I saw. Well, I saw one episode, but, the two segments. One of them was, there was a chore list for all the family members, and Paddington was like, well, I'm part of the family, so I want a chore list too. And so they gave him one, but of course he took the wrong one, so he can't really figure out what he's supposed to do, but instead of asking, he just does it by himself, and it's funny and cute, and Paddington's great. I really enjoyed the movies very, very much. This is in the same vein. The animation is a little basic. Even for daytime Nickelodeon show, it's a little basic. But Whishaw gives it all for the voice. The other voice actors, do a pretty good job. It's not as funny as I would like. I think it's more cute than funny. But I think, as always, there's kind of good messages here in sort of, being a good person and, whatever. Family is what you make it, and the normal type of things that you get with this kind of show. But I thought it was well done. I thought it was cute. So I leave The Adventures of Paddington with a B+. And then up next is Just Add Magic Mystery City. This is on Amazon. Now, these are based on old books. I guess not like super old books, but there's a book called Just Add Magic by Cindy Callaghan or something, and it came out in 2010, and it was hugely successful, so they made an Amazon series about it. In fact, I guess it's one of the first Amazon Prime original series, because it's from 2015. They don't have too many that go that far back, so I guess it's one of their first ones, and apparently it was a big smash for them, and it ran for 3 years, 51 episodes. I didn't really know anything about it. I'd sort of, I guess, heard the name Just Add Magic. I don't know if maybe I had seen it on the bookshelf or just saw it like on my Amazon Prime coming up at some point, but I don't know. So this is a spin-off of that, and essentially it's, in the original was three girls. This is two girls and a boy, and they're all, I don't know, tweens, I suppose. They're probably 12, maybe. And two of them have an interesting relationship because they are new step siblings. They're her. I think it's her mom and his dad. Maybe I have it reversed. But anyway, who cares? They're getting together, and then the other gal is, just a friend of theirs. But so it's they inherit, I guess, from the girls in the first series. They inherit this magic book, and it gives them all different spells. And in the first episode, they get the spell kind of wrong, and they each put in something that they didn't know the other one did, and they forget an ingredient completely. So the spell turns out sort of backwards and whatever. So everything is sort of opposite. If they say like, oh, hey, don't throw your napkin on the floor, Timmy. Timmy picks up his napkin and throws it on the floor. It was all kind of corny. The acting was okay. I don't want to say it was terrible. I mean, look, as a kid actor, we're all not going to be Oscar caliber here. Some are and some are not. I think the acting is all right enough for an Amazon Prime series directed at kids and families, I guess. But I don't know. Even the acting from the adults wasn't that great. It's all sort of cheesy, sort of corny. I don't know if the main audience is. I think the main audience is kids younger than the ones in the show. Like I said, the kids in the show are about 12. I think kids that are actually 12 would find it rather boring, or maybe too silly. I think the target is probably like kids maybe around 6 to 10, and their families. I mean, there's certainly nothing offensive about it. It's a cute show for families, but I've certainly seen cuter. I've certainly seen more original. And this is maybe a nitpick, but they didn't even follow the rules of their own world, because, like, okay, if it's sort of, you have to do the opposite of what you're saying, but, like, that didn't always happen, in a few cases I was like, well, wait, shouldn't they have done this? So, even in the rules of their own world, they're not really gelling properly, but it's serviceable enough, I suppose, but it's very, very average. So I give Just Add Magic Mystery City a C. Okay, so those are our 6 shows for the week. Now, pretty soon, I don't know if I'm going to have to up the ante here on the number of shows I'm covering a week, because there are a lot coming out with all the new streaming services and everything, and I don't know what to do with Quibi yet, because that is going to be like all this top level talent. In fact, I didn't even bring it up in the news segment, but Demi Lovato just announced she's going to be doing a 10-minute talk show on Quibi. The whole point of Quibi is 8 to 10-minute bites, and so I'm not sure what to do with that. I don't know if that's worth reviewing here on the channel or not. But I'm certainly intrigued by the caliber of talent that they have coming to the service. So I think at least privately I'll check it out. Whether or not I end up reviewing it, I don't know. But I don't know. So I may have to up the ante. And then Netflix, every week they've got something new, if not 2 new things. So every week something's on the Netflix slate. I don't know. And then, Disney Plus and Apple and all of it. So we'll see. And then, guess what? There's still networks putting out stuff. So I know that the new show just went up with Edie Falco on CBS, I believe it is. And ABC's got a show about 50 Cent being in jail or something that they kept advertising during the Oscars. So, and then Fran Drescher has the new show on NBC. So I want to get to all of that in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see. There's a lot to talk about on the channel. I will be back tomorrow with a recap of the Connors live episode, which will be very exciting. And then the day after that, I'll be back with a Masked Singer Guesses review or whatever video. And then at some point very soon, I'm going to get Justin over here which we just did the Oscar prediction video. I'm going to get him over there, and we're going to do our grades for the top 100 grossing movies of 2019. So that should be interesting. And then Frasier Friday, I have some Frasier Fridays in the can with my buddy Merlin. So there's a lot going on. Dan Loves Disney is coming back very soon. One of my good buddies, Tim, wants to review some of the more obscure Disney animated movies with me. So I'll be back very soon with that as well. So there's so much. There's no lack of content here on the channel, just like there's no lack of content on your television or your streaming service. So thank you so much for watching. Comment below with if you've seen any of these shows or what you think about the Friends reunion thing or what have you. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye.